I'd like to introduce Reverend Arthur, correct? Arthur Mosley. Well, we had it written somewhere else differently. Arthur Mosley, who recently returned from a 10-day trip as part of Project Interchange with 10 other African-American pastors from around the U.S. To Israel, and he's here to share a little bit about his experience. So I hope he's got some wonderful things to say. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me take a deep breath and repent for all the laws I broke. Not in Israel, but in Atlanta to get here. My most sincere apology to you. I had a number of meetings scheduled today, and somehow this meeting left my mind, and please forgive me for forgetting and then having to speed to get here. Thank you again for this wonderful opportunity to share with you the experience I had with some other African-American pastors in Israel back in June. Am I right? July. In July. For me, it was my second trip to Israel. My first trip was designed to be a time of rest, renewal, and to also come in contact primarily with the holy sites there in Israel. Whereas the second trip with Project Interchange, it gave me an opportunity to not just visit the historic sites, but also to become aware and more in touch with the more contemporary things that are pertinent and that are going on in Israel today. And what an eye-opening experience it was for me. Many times, our information that we receive here in the States is primarily dependent on the media, and the media seems to focus primarily on the conflict that is happening. Whereas when I got there, I realized that there is so much more to Israel than the conflict that the media tells me about, and there's much more than just the holy sites, which I had previously experienced back in 2006. Some of the things that were new for me and eye-opening, one was I can't remember the name of the medical group and team that's doing the surgeries for the children that are brought from all over the world for the life-saving heart surgery that is going on. And I think there are a lot of people in the States as well as in other parts of the world who are completely unaware of the phenomenal work in medicine that's going on there in Israel and how it's impacting and changing the lives of children, not just there in Israel, but also children from other parts of the world who, if they did not have that avenue for their health, realistically would die. Life would end for them very, very early. The other thing that was a tremendous eye-opener for me was to see how Israel opens its doors to Israelis who may be in the diaspora in other parts of the world who decide they want to come back to Israel. They want to live in Israel. And the kind of efforts that are made to ensure that they get a wonderful start and a good foundation, particularly with the 6 months they are given to learn the language, which will allow them to be able to function within the community there in Israel. And I was blown away by the fact that people are given such a tremendous opportunity to learn the language and be able to use the language and be able to be assimilated into the culture and into society. And that's something else we don't hear about readily here in the States. I was also moved by the fact that there is coexistence and living, and there's a sense of getting along that is happening in Israel between Israelis and Palestinians. And that's something else that we don't hear about readily here in the States. And I have had the wonderful privilege of even sharing with my congregation that all that we're hearing in terms of the negative things that we may hear as to what's going on in Israel, my experience was so different from what I may hear in the media. And it's also has empowered and equipped me to be able to bring a sense of comfort to many people who want to travel to Israel. And just had a conversation this morning with a gentleman, African-American clergyman who's in his 60s, who does have a desire to go to Israel, but there is this underlying fear factor that seems to be overriding his desire to go. And my having gone is a hands-on for him that communicates to him, you can go, you will be safe, you can have a good time, and you can return back home safely. Now keep in mind he's in his 60s, so I have a little work. A little work to do with him, but I want to assure him. Because he's retired now, and he has the time and the opportunity, and I don't want to see him be denied the opportunity to do something that's been a lifelong dream of his, which is to go to what he identifies, and many of us do, as the Holy Land. He really wants to go, but hearing all of the negatives in the media has planted the seed of fear in him. And so I'm using my experience to help him to understand you can go, you will have a great time. And to be honest, I probably felt safer in Israel than I did on 285 trying to get here. I did. I never felt threatened. I never felt unsafe. I was always comfortable. I just found it to be an enjoyable and wonderful experience. And I do look forward to going back and enjoying Israel again in the future.
One last question, Reverend.
Yes.
Because we're getting ready to leave. How does your congregation feel about your trip, and how do they respond to when you preach about it?
Their response is very enthusiastic. They are, I think, having gone and made it back. The reality for them. When they heard that I was going, fear stepped in. But once I have gone and come back, and now that I have done it twice, I think they are at ease. And then they love hearing in the preaching or teaching my references to my having been to the holy sites, which allows me to make it more vivid for them. I can tell them I've been to the Sea of Galilee. It's one thing to read about it. It's one thing to hear about it. But to say you've actually been there, and to say you've been to Mount Carmel where the prophet Elijah called down fire, and he sends his servant to look out, and there's a cloud coming in, and God sends rain. When you say you have been to those places, it just brings a whole greater and higher level of appreciation. And then, of course, people stop me after the sermon or after the teaching and want some more information and want to pick my brain a little bit more. So the enthusiasm just goes to a whole nother level.
Thank you.
Thank you.